I don't really like the idea that we use clothes to create an image of ourselves. I mean, obviously that's what people perceive, but I like to think of clothing as something necessary, so you try to do it the way you want. So I see it as something that reflects who you are and your style more than how you want people to see you.
I mean, you get a gut reaction based on how someone looks overall. I don't really know how much clothing plays in that perception to me, but I'd say there's probably at least a little bit of correlation there.
I usually try not to have others' clothing affecting my perception of them, but I imagine it must affect it, because it's, if you are just part of the society, that's basically, this is something that is communicated in the society.
I guess I try to put forward, I guess, a more smart, put together perception. How do I do that? I try to wear clean, not so much simple clothes, but tasteful.
I really don't try to put forth an image and really don't care about what I wear, as you can see right now.
So it obviously totally depends on context, where I am, what country specifically. I dress differently in Saudi Arabia than I do in Tunisia or in the US. Also depends on who I'm meeting. As a Muslim woman, people often make judgment on not just what religion you're from, or you believe in, but also how religious you are. And usually I try to be conscious about how I want people to perceive me.
Sometimes I feel like the way I feel and the way I dress are like completely connected, and then sometimes I'm like in a huge rush and I got at 9 a.m. and I wake up at like 8:45. Screw it! Sweatpants and t-shirts and whatever. Yeah.
Well, I think at least when I go, the image that I put for myself, for instance, when I go to lecture, it appears that it's more appropriate to wear a jacket, although sometimes it's too hot, or it's not very practical because it's raining. But in a way it becomes part of the traditions. It makes, when you use this kind of traditions in a way, it makes everyone else more comfortable. Because basically it appears that this part of the relationship that we're having, that I'm having with my students, is solidified through a particular level of traditions.
I'll give you another more fun example. People back home match clothing, match colors a lot. If you go around in Tunisia, at least around my family, and you're not wearing a red scarf with red shoes and a red and a red bag, then it's like, why are you dressed in a bizarre way? Here, if you go around dressed, totally matching, it's probably, I'm sure it gives a different kind of idea.
My friends are always shocked by how dressed up we get, though, to go out and to actually make an effort to look good, because most people don't put that much time or effort into like putting on cocktail dresses every Thursday and Saturday night.
I mean, you put on cocktail dresses every Thursday and Saturday night. I don't know if everyone else looks as good as you do.
No.
The weather. I always look outside and try to look at what everyone else is wearing and check to see how cold it is and if it rains. So I suppose the weather, just so that I'm not cold, because it's terrible being cold.
So basically there's such a thing as modest clothing, so I would say that, like, the more conservative you are with your dress, usually that corresponds to being more modest as a person, but it's not always true.
Depends on religion. For example, my scarf, I would not put it this way in Saudi Arabia. You're going to stand out because that's not the norm, that's not how people do it. It doesn't really cover everything, so you might be seen as someone who's not very modest. Also, like, I need to wear abaya, or what looks like a black cloak in Saudi, which I wouldn't wear here because people would assume that I'm too religious. So that's also another immediate connection with how people perceive how religious you are with clothing.
Because it is this extension of the private sphere into the public sphere. It is a function of making parts of yourself private, but at the same time doing so in a very public way. And therefore setting these limits and putting it to other people to look at and to perceive, this is what I want to make public and this is what I want to make private.
Definitely people in the media who are respected by today's society have influence on fashion in general. When it comes to gender, I suppose that genders will follow the trends by their respective genders, and those trends are definitely set by people in the media.
The media plays a very important role in reflecting what is happening in the society, but at the same time in reinforcing it. So they normally don't invent things that are not in the society. There's a proverb that says stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. This is in a way true, because stereotypes and the things that the media are portraying depend on particular perceptions that are out there, but these perceptions do not necessarily represent how people really live. They are a mixture of what people think, the normative understanding of the society, and the descriptive understanding.
I think, again, just because that's the first thing you see about someone is just how they look, like, as themselves and what they're wearing. It's always, like, the first thing you know about someone is what they look like, because that's, even before you talk to someone, that's what you see.
Because it's your choice. It's everyone's choice to put on what clothing they wear.